All right, welcome everyone. We're going to give a few minutes. We got people starting to join, but we're going to give probably about 2 minutes here for everyone to join. We got a lot of people registered today. Looks like we're filling up quick though. Weston, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Adam, thanks. I don't know for those that were on, there's a few dozen that were on during that music, but you mentioned it to me. I did feel like I was doing a meditation. I don't know where we got that music from, but that was amazing. And if I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but was that Lake Powell in the background blurred out?
Looked like it, yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know those that are on while we're just waiting for a few more attending. We are having 5s, 10s, 15s logging in right now, so we'll probably give this a minute. But Adam, I just got back from Lake Powell over this weekend. Anyone that knows what Lake Powell is, it's part of the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. It's one of the largest recreation areas in the United States, but it's got this crazy large lake that's all surrounded by red sandstone. I mean, it's just a lake that's sitting inside red sandstone. It's really the start of the Grand Canyon, and actually used to be part of the canyon lands until they created the Glen Canyon Dam. But now it's a recreational area for boaters, rafters, kayakers, hikers. In fact, here, can I share my screen? I'm going to show you a picture of what I woke up. Let me see if this works. If we got a second, we're waiting for you. There's still a lot of people watching right now, so I think
we're about half of the registrants are on so far.
All right, this is what I went to sleep. This looks almost fake. Can you see this or no?
No. Yep, now we can.
All right, well, that's what I went to sleep to right before I went to bed every night as the sun was setting and beating off those red rocks. And then in the mornings, we'd be waking up to the sun rising through the mountains over there. It was really kind of surreal. So anyone that ever wants to come to Utah/Arizona, that's where this lake resides, but it's an amazing place.
I've been going since I can remember. It's one of the most beautiful places ever. So, all right, we've got a pretty full house now. So let's go ahead and get going. Thanks everyone for joining the webinar today. As a reminder, the webinar title, Scaling Smarter with AI, How Brokers Can Win Safely. I'm Adam Smith, and I'm joined by Weston Lunsford. I'll do a quick introduction to both of us, run through the agenda, and then I'll kick things over to Weston to get us going. So I'm the CMO here at Plansight. I've been an early stage investor in several AI companies. I've scaled my own companies using AI. I really love using AI and building companies. So outside of that, outside of work, I love mountain biking, camping, playing guitar, and spending time with my wife and our 4 children. Weston is the CEO and co-founder of Plansight. He is also the managing partner of Kaizen Investment Partners. That's a VC firm that focuses specifically on healthcare technology, insurtech, and fintech. Previously, Weston co-founded Dental Intelligence, scaling it to the category leader in dental practice analytics before a private equity exit. Weston and his wife of 23 years are raising 5 children and recently became grandparents.
Yep, that's super exciting.
It's hard to believe because Weston stays physically very fit. If you follow Weston on Strava, it will make you feel bad. It makes me feel bad. So he's a grandpa now, so we like to remind him of that. Keep him humble. Cool. So let's get into the agenda for the day. So we're going to go through the current challenges with AI. What are they? How do we avoid them? And then the overall benefits of AI. We'll focus specifically on safe AI adoption, best practices for using AI securely and avoiding common pitfalls. Then we'll go through a quick product spotlight, which will include smart sheeting, Plansight AI, and renewal automation and QC. Then we'll get into the future of AI. Where is it going? How is it going to be used alongside human expertise? And then we'll have Q&A. We'll open the last part of this up for Q&A. We'll hopefully, Weston and I can get a little bit long-winded, and we'll have probably a little bit of ADHD. So we'll try to make sure we have as much time as possible for Q&A at the end. But without further ado, Weston, let's get going.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Adam, if you have questions as we're going through this conversation too, and we want this to be somewhat conversational, we may not get to it right when you're asking the question, but so you don't forget it, just type it in there. I believe we have someone moderating this to interrupt us if we need interrupted, or advancing the screen slides too, so that we're not going too far off topic. But let's have some fun, Adam. I'm actually really excited about this. I'm really passionate about technology. And AI being introduced into technology has just been going crazy over the last 3 to 5 years. And I think it's just going to get even crazier. So we're doing everything we can here at Plansight to embrace this type of technology and look for ways to really bring it into our solution, because we didn't start out as AI embedded inside Plansight. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you and go through this journey with you today, and everyone here. But feel free to ask questions, guys, as we're going through this. In fact, I want to start off just by asking a question. Maybe we could advance this to the poll. Oh, you did it. Someone's there. It's really good. But Adam, I'm going to ask you this, so you can just kind of give me some comments back, and everyone else just think about this question right now. But if you suddenly had, just with your responsibilities and what you do in a day, but you suddenly had anywhere from 15 to 30%, or let's say 20% as an even number there, of your time back to you because technology freed up that much of your tasks that you have to do on a daily basis, what would you do with that 20% of your time? And to put this into context, and I'm not going to talk about the fourth quarter busy season of brokers, but just in a normal work hour, that's another almost 2 hours. It's an hour and 40 something minutes, I think, of time in your day freed up. Adam, on an 8-hour workday, what would you do? Now, if this is brokers Q4, which they're all entering, I think their normal work days are 12 hours.
Yeah.
For your normal work day, and I'm not saying you only work 8 hours, Adam. I hope you do. I hope you only work 4. But what would you do with that extra 2 hours a day?
That's a great question. You know, if technology is helping me accomplish all the things that I already was accomplishing, the extra time would be spent building relationships. You know, that I find some of the most beneficial things that I do are getting to know people better, networking in the space. So it would be that. You know, I did a podcast episode this morning, and diving deep with someone into how they're growing in the space is one of the most rewarding things for me. So that's where I would spend my time.
Okay. Well, that's great. I like that. More client time, more relationship building, and maybe, guys, this is more room for negotiations with your carriers, or maybe it's more room for marketing for prospective clients, and just building those relationships with existing clients. Or maybe it's just leaning into strategy and thinking now big terms, where are we going over the next 5 years? But that's what technology can do for you. And that's why we embrace technology, to be able to free up time to allow our minds to spend more time on what matters more, whatever those items are. So we do have this. Is this a poll that people can answer? Or is this just are people seeing this? Can they answer what they would do?
Yeah. So
what brokers would do with the extra time they gain from efficiency, or what they would like to do with it.
In the far right, there's two tabs on their far right of the screen. Okay. One's the Q&A, and then there's the poll. So that's
okay. So pull that information out. We'd love to know what you would do with extra time. With technology, we're able to free up 20% of your time in a day, and do the math on what that means for you in busy season or non-busy season. But what would you be doing with that extra time? And we'd love to share some of those as these things start coming in. So let's go ahead and move on, though. And I want to be really transparent and honest about where we're at in this renewal / marketing process in shopping for benefits. Every renewal cycle, brokers and their teams, Adam, they face this same grind. They're trying to chase after these renewals from their carriers, from the incumbent carriers right now. And sometimes those things are delayed, and carriers are becoming more strategic and even delaying those a little bit further. Some of them, not all of them, because they don't want to give enough time for shopping and comparing. So we're collecting this information. We're then collecting census data. We're preparing and we're sending out these RFPs to multiple carriers when we see that there's a need to get more competitive. Once we send those out, then we're chasing down these quotes or these proposals. We're receiving them and we're spreadsheeting those things. We're then trying to reconcile and format that into spreadsheets, and we're comparing plans line by line. And we're doing all this without our clients really even understanding all this work that's going on behind the scenes, so that we can just give them this nice page of a dental summary of saying, here's the 6 plans that we looked at, even though we probably looked at 20 of them. None of this work, though, Adam, none of it's strategic. It's all tactical. It's all repetitive, and it eats away at this time that we were just talking about that matters more, where we could be spending that with client relationships or strategy or carriers and creating better, affordable, comprehensive plans with them. And there's actually part of this challenge that we're dealing with too. There's a huge risk factor. Every manual step that I just described is an opportunity for an error, an opportunity to misplace an email that came from a carrier with their proposal, an opportunity to miss a line item when we're copying and pasting into our Excel sheets, or details that slip through under pressure, or even failure to deliver those proposals on time due to not really even having enough human capital to get through it all. One of the most common things that I see in Excel files today, as far as errors and risks there, are if you change something in a column, oftentimes if you don't go back down to the formula section and enter in on that cell and enter on that formula, sometimes it doesn't go back up and grab those changed fields that you did. And that's an awesome missed thing. So there's this risk that's inherently there when we're trying to manually do all this work. And at the same time, I want to mention that our client expectations are only going up. I recently made a post where we are seeing some steep and fast rising premiums on our renewals right now. I had a CFO friend of mine just tell me that they saw a 20% increase on their medical plan, which is crazy, but they're one of thousands of employers going through that. And so employers are wanting to have more confidence. They want faster turnarounds and understanding of where they're going to be at, because they're all working on their next 2026 budgets right now too. Every mid to large group employer is working on their 2026 budgets, and they're wanting to know where things are at. They want transparent comparisons and creative plan designs, and really a more value-based and affordable comprehensive benefit package that will help retain and recruit the talent that they need in their organizations. Historically, I would say that the solution to this and meeting these client demands has been throw more people at the problem. Sure, refine in your processes and systems, but get more people there, hire more staff, build bigger service teams. But that model just doesn't scale. It's expensive. And on top of it, all this tactical work, it really burns people out, especially in this fourth quarter period. And that's what we see. Yet we repeat it year after year after year. So hopefully that helps articulate, at least from my perspective, what I see as a challenge. And in talking with several clients of ours and brokers, they're feeling this challenge. And you guys are just getting into it right now because we're entering fourth quarter. Anything to add to that, Adam, or do you feel like I summarized the challenge?
Yeah, I think you set the stage really well. I think that's everyone knows that that's the problem. Most people will tell you they don't have the answer to that problem yet.
Well, technology is a good answer. And I'm not saying technology is perfect. AI embedded into technology is a phenomenal answer. And I'm not even saying that's perfect, but let's go ahead and go into that. I want to talk just briefly before you get into some tactical aspects of AI and what to use, what not to use, and how to make sure you're safe and choosing the right vendors. But I just want to talk about some of these benefits of AI. And you can see we have some of these numbered out here. But first, we simply said scale without headcount. Well, of course we can do that. AI, just so you guys, and hopefully everyone on here has had an opportunity to test AI at some level here, even if it's freebie versions. But AI can process thousands of quotes. Hold on, I made a comment. I'm not suggesting anyone goes out there and uploads confidential quote information into some freebie AI. But Adam wants to get into that. I'm saying on a personal level, I'm hoping you've all had opportunities to test some AI. So I do want you to understand, though, that artificial intelligence, it can process so much faster than any human being can. It can take thousands of quotes and plan documents and process those documents in seconds. And what used to take hours and sometimes days can now happen literally within minutes. This means that if you're embracing solutions that are available to you to do this type of work, you can take on more clients or more groups or more renewals without burning out your team. Or you can just simply have more time back on your calendar. And maybe during the busy season, you're actually getting home to have dinner with your family. So AI can absolutely help you scale without just increasing headcount. It can also help mitigate risk or reduce accuracy and reduce your risk, or increase accuracy and reduce your risk. AI doesn't get tired at 11:30. So it's not tanking things incorrectly. At night, when you're pushing to that finish to get a renewal out the door, it doesn't transpose numbers by accident. It normalizes data. It checks for consistency. It flags variances. Instead of hoping nothing was missed, you can actually have a lot more confidence that the data is right, or at least that if there is some form of variance that the AI has been trained to see, that it's flagged. So it gives you the direction of where you need to be looking. That's not just a time saver. That literally is a liability reducer. And the third thing on here is the real prize, in my opinion. By automating the manual work, AI can give people back hours they need for what you mentioned earlier on at the very beginning of this, Adam, for strategy, for negotiating, for client relationships, or even relationships amongst peers in your industry. And let's be clear, that is relationships and strategy. That's where brokers are going to win. Clients are not staying with you because you upload quotes quickly. They stay with you because you're bringing insight and trust and creativity. And if you don't utilize technology to help with these mundane tasks, then most of your time is going to be spent on that instead of where it needs to be. So AI isn't just replacing people, it's enabling people, and it's really protecting the thing that makes us valuable. It's protecting our time so that we can be more strategic with our clients. So just summing that up real quick, because I said a lot there. And then we'll go into some of these tactical things with you, Adam. But AI helps you scale without adding headcount. That's a big benefit. AI can reduce risk by improving accuracy, or at least flagging variables that don't seem consistent with what normal would be when we're looking at quotes and proposals and plans. And it frees your team's time up to get back to work with clients, which is what the clients actually value. So that's the upside. And that's why AI, in my opinion, it's no longer optional. It's a foundation on how brokerage teams will operate going forward. I said recently in a podcast that I was being interviewed on with Vertifor, who has a few different solutions of technology in the industry. And I mentioned to them that brokers that embrace this type of technology are going to be the brokers in the future that win. Not the ones that embrace it in the future when it's perfected. The ones that are learning how to embrace it now and figure it out. Those are going to be the brokers that are winning in the future. It doesn't mean those that don't embrace technology won't have success, but I think they're going to get outpaced, Adam, by those that are embracing it today.
Agreed. I met with a broker this morning that he said he was meeting with a company that had 1,900 employees, and they had only heard from their broker once per year in the last 5 years. And technology, like you said, frees up time to be able to have more contact. You know, that's an account that broker's probably going to win because they're being contacted one time per year by their current broker. So
right,
yeah, technology gives you that competitive advantage. So awesome. Okay, so we're going to get into using AI safely. We're launching a poll right here because this is kind of the lead into this section. We all know that the AI solutions exist. We've all probably used them at some point. What concerns you most about AI solutions and implementing those? We do really want to see. So remember, there's going to be there's the Q&A and then the poll. Please do fill out the poll because we want to know what is concerning people about AI solutions. So,
man, just as this is coming in and poll questions are coming in, it's interesting. The first thing that was huge right away was accuracy and reliability. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden now I'm seeing it bounce back between accuracy and reliability, and that dropping and just all of the above. So
yeah. Well, we'll get into all of those things here. So, AI is really powerful. It's so powerful, in fact, that we and all of our employees are seeing it around every corner. You know, half of what we see on LinkedIn is how one company made their processes and systems so much more effective or efficient using AI. So it's out there, and we and all of our employees are seeing it. So with knowing that, it's not really a question of if our employees are using AI. It's a matter of if they're using it safely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the question that we have to ask, and that's what we're going to get into here.
Well, they are using it, Adam.
That's
right?
what I said. That's what I said. It's not if they're using it. Definitely, it's if they're using it safely. And because they're not all created equal, you can run into real risks as a broker. Things like privacy gaps, compliance issues, accuracy problems. We'll touch on several of these here as well. So as an agency, making sure that we have the right guardrails in place is vital. You wouldn't just hand over sensitive client data to an unknown vendor. And just the same way, we shouldn't upload sensitive information into AI that we don't have control over and don't know where it's going. So we'll also run through the do's and don'ts of AI in this section. And remember, this is being recorded. I don't think I actually said this at the beginning, which is why I'm saying it now. This is being recorded. We'll send out the slides and the recording after. So we'll go through a few of these sections quickly to make sure we have enough time. But if you have questions and want to go back, you'll get the recording and the slides after. So let's jump into the different types of AI tools really quickly. So we have public AI tools. These are the ones that are typically top of mind. They're public. They're big. ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini. These are the ones that most of our employees have probably seen, and they sometimes have like a freemium version, so they might have access to that, or a low cost version. They're really helpful, but the catch with these is that they're public. What that means is that we don't control where inputs go and what outputs that we get from them. So if we upload a document, we don't have control over where that document stops. That's owned by the AI company. And so that makes it so that these tools are really great for brainstorming or very general tasks, but they're not good for handling any private health information or any client information that you want to keep sensitive. So they're cheap, they're readily available. They shouldn't be used for most of the things that we want to do in an agency with AI, unless it's just.
I like how you said though, but using those solutions for brainstorming. So anything that we're not necessarily loading client names in or employee names or specific situations regarding any of our clients, those are good tools to use. But the moment that we've got to start dealing with census, quotes, or anything tied to an employer name or a human being, we've got to avoid getting that into AI.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least getting it into the public models of AI, right? So on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got your self-hosted AI tools. Think of this as you incurring all of the costs of hosting, of the hardware costs, of training. You're building your own model that's self-hosted. And that's going to be basically the most expensive, but also the most control. You have control over where all the documents end, where they can be shared. But it's really, really expensive. Some of the expenses to consider, if you've made money on NVIDIA stock, that's because they sell hardware that does this type of thing. So you've got to buy the hardware, you've got to have the right network capabilities, you've got to have the right requirements, and then on top of that, you've got to have salaries of people that make sure that it stays safe and secure, and that train it to do the things that it's supposed to do. So while this is kind of the one that you have the most control over, you can definitely factor in multiple six figures per year to train and maintain your own self-hosted AI. Then you've got a third option, which is kind of think of it as another company developing a solution and them incurring all of those costs for self-hosting. So they're controlling where the documents end. They sign a BAA. They control where all the documents go. They control the training the model. They incur the costs of the AI team, internal AI team that trains, that makes sure that it's doing things correctly. And these are often purpose-built. Right, they're built to do specific things in a company that are mundane tasks. So like with Plansight, we do kind of the RFP, the spreadsheeting, those things we do with AI. We have a team that trains the AI. We have a team that makes sure that it's secure. So you've got, again, I'm going to go through those really quickly. Public tools, the ones we all know. Self-hosted, that's the ones that you're building internally. Very expensive, but can be really great if you can afford to do that. And then you've got kind of the industry-specific tools that someone else builds to accomplish the tasks that you're trying to accomplish. So let's go through some hidden risks of AI. The AI is super powerful. I use it every single day, but there are risks that are involved in using it, and especially in using it for information that's sensitive. So the first hidden risk is data privacy. Like I said, public AI tools, they can learn from the data that you put into them. So when you paste a census file, renewal sheet, client document into the wrong AI tool, that data lives on a server that you don't control, can resurface somewhere else, and that's a nightmare scenario. So data privacy is the first thing that first risk that we want to consider.
Well, it's not even legal to be able to upload protected information into public AI forums.
Yep.
We're not allowed to do that based on our compliance.
No, definitely not. We don't sign a BAA with them. They're not HIPAA compliant. You can ask any of the models themselves, hey, am I okay to upload this sensitive document? And they'll say no, right? They're going to tell you that it's not the right place to do it. The other thing is, and we just hinted at this, there's compliance gaps. These public AI tools are not HIPAA compliant. They don't have SOC 2 certification. They're not safeguarding your information in the right ways. And the third, and this was brought up in the poll actually, is that there's accuracy concerns without accountability. So you'll see a lot of people claiming we have got 100% accuracy, our AI is 100% accurate. That's just not true. Models hallucinate, they misread numbers, they miss important details. And if you're using AI, the AI is not responsible for the output that you take to a customer. If you go to a client meeting with bad data, ultimately you're the one that's responsible for the bad data, and that can damage trust faster than anything. So those accuracy issues without accountability, that's also a big factor. And I want to give a kind of a funny case in point here. So a few weeks ago, if you look behind me, I've got this decorative wood on the wall. A few weeks ago, I was putting this together, and
you gotta zoom this out so we can see this wall, Adam.
Yeah, can I zoom it out? Let's see.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
you can see the decorative wood
there. We go.
Right? So, so I measured the wall, and I was like, I'm going to use AI to help me put this together. So I gave the measurements of the wood, I gave the measurements of the wall, and I said, help me put together some formats that I could put this wood in. And so I was actually using Gemini because they came out with a new image tool called Nano Banana, which is the dumbest name I've ever heard. But it was supposed to be really, really good. So I asked Gemini, I said, give me all the configurations that I could use on this wall. And it gave me about 10 different configurations. And my wife, she does all of the decorating stuff. She sent me this picture. And it's going to be on the next slide. That's where this came in. So she sent me this picture, which looks kind of like my wall behind me. That's not my wall, but I uploaded the picture, and I'll read the questions that I asked here, and it's kind of interesting. I said, I can't quite read it. Let me try to make it a little bit bigger. Basically, I said, based on this picture, remember I gave me 10 configurations. Based on this picture, which configuration that you gave me would match this best? And it gave me some dimensions and said, here's why. The proportion, it says the rectangles in this photo are visually taller than they are wide. They are classic portrait rectangles. Sorry, I can't quite read, but portrait orientation rectangle. And that's not right.
Yeah, so your comment was the rectangles in this picture are definitely not taller, which they're not. I can see that too.
No, they're definitely wider than they are tall. And then his response back was, oh, you're absolutely right. My apologies. The rectangles in the photo are wider than they are tall. And then it gave me the dimensions. So it was a good thing that I was monitoring that, because if I had just taken it at face value, I would have come out with a completely different wall behind me. But here's the thing is, it was wrong, but it still saved me probably 25 minutes of trying to do the math to calculate how big the square should be. My wood is 3 inches wide. My wall is this many inches wide. It did that in seconds. So what we learned from this, while the AI was wrong, we can still save time as long as we have safeguards in place. And luckily for me, I didn't just trust it blindly.
Meaning a human review.
Yes. Yep. We need humans to make sure that AI is not doing anything crazy. And if we put the human review in place, AI can still save us a significant amount of time. Like I said, on this project, probably 25 minutes of calculations that I didn't want to do. Well, let's jump in quickly to the do's and don'ts. I want to make sure we leave enough time for Q&A at the end. Remember, this is going to be recorded, so I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly, and we'll send the recording and the slides out after. So on the do's side of things, you want to use a private and secure ecosystem, whether you create your own or use one that another company has set up. You want to make sure that it is private and secure. Make sure that you're protecting client employee data. Validate performance with your own documents. Make sure that vendors are transparent about how they're handling the data. And always remember, AI should support human judgment, not replace it. Because remember, if it just replaced it here, I'd have portrait rectangles on my wall instead of landscape. On the don't side, don't put sensitive data into public AI tools. Don't take vendor claims at face value. Don't assume accuracy without context, and never skip QA and QC reviews just because the AI is fast. Speed without reliability can create bigger risks than old manual processes. We're going to launch a third poll here, which is, and we want people to understand this really well, is what things should you be considering when you're vetting AI vendors? What questions should you be asking? What are you already doing when you're looking at AI vendors? We want to know what the answers are there. So again, that's another poll. We'd love to see the answers on. Okay, so I'm going to run through what we think the key questions are to ask every AI vendor. So when you're demoing a new AI product, it's really easy to get caught up in what it can do. It's a shiny new tool. It's fast. It's solving a pain point that you think is really annoying usually. But we have to ask the right questions. The first question is how they handle sensitive data. Especially in our industry, we deal with protected health information and personal data every day. If a vendor can't clearly explain where that data lives, how it's stored, and who has access to it, that's a big red flag. Second is a compliance question. Are you HIPAA compliant? This is not optional, because if they're not using the right models, and they're not,
at least for our industry with benefits, right? I mean,
yes, exactly. In our industry, not optional. We have to meet HIPAA requirements, and if they can't show you proof, it's probably best not to move forward there. The third, what quality assurance and quality control checks are in place? So AI is fast. Gemini came up with 10 configurations faster than I could come up with one on my wall. It's very fast. But speed without accuracy can hurt more than it helps. If I just went with the first thing it said, again, it would look different than I wanted it to look. The right vendor should have a system for validating outputs against real documents, not just saying, trust us, it's going to be right. And finally, can you provide proof of accuracy? Can you upload my documents and show me what the outputs are? Ask them to run your census files, obviously after you've checked to make sure that they're secure enough. Ask them to run your own census files, your renewal sheets, or proposals through their system. That way you'll be able to see firsthand how reliable it actually is. If a vendor stumbles on any of these questions or has a hard time coming up with the proof that they are as secure as they should be, it's probably best not to go that route. again, security is paramount, especially in our industry. So bringing all of this together, AI has incredible potential for brokers. But only if it's adopted safely. We've looked into hidden risks, guardrails, the right questions to ask vendors, and pitfalls to avoid. The real upside comes when AI is used to eliminate the tedious, error-prone work and free up your focus to be able to focus on your clients. That's how firms are going to scale smarter in the future and not just faster. So at the end of the day, AI doesn't replace people. It makes them more valuable. And brokers who understand the balance of technology and human expertise are the ones who will win in years ahead.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thanks for going through that. I've heard you talk about this before, and we've heard our AI engineers speak about this to our organization quite a bit. And obviously, we are a SOC 2 certified organization, both on privacy and on data security. And so we actually take this security part of this very seriously, but we, on the other hand, take accuracy very seriously as well. And I like how you articulated that AI is fast, but it does miss things. It doesn't matter who's building it. Accuracy is always going to have to be checked. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Now that we've looked at, or before Adam, I remind you, talked about some of the benefits of AI, and I think we all recognize that. And then obviously Adam covered the importance of compliance. I want to bring this back down more to what we do as brokers. I love your wall, Adam, and I love that scenario, but let's bring this to what our benefit brokers are actually doing right now and what it actually looks like in practice in your brokerage firms. At Plansight, we actually built AI not as really a shiny tool, but it's embedded within a process or a solution, the SaaS solution that was purpose built for the broker teams today. And really the benefit service team members. I think that there's in benefit brokerages out there, there's really two segments of teams. There's your account managers and the sales producers, and then there's your benefit service team members. And they're the ones behind the scenes trying to get all of this work done for these account managers and producers. And sometimes in the smaller brokerages, these bleed together and they work more cohesively. But today I want to show you what this looks like in action through just a few product spotlights that we went out and got, some real world case studies and examples of the results that AI is actually driving in brokerages that are utilizing it today. So let's start with the most common pain point here. Spreadsheets. We all have them. I use them still today. I actually love spreadsheets. I think there's a lot of valuable to Microsoft Excel. They knocked it out of the park. It is a very robust piece of technology. Every carrier today that we work with delivers a quote to us in some kind of format that's typically in a PDF. We are getting more carriers now delivering some values to us in JSON or in CSV or Excels, but then we have to be able to have a system to be able to receive that information and digest it. But for the most part, we're still dealing and living in this world of PDFs. And historically, that means, or today, if you're not embracing technology, that means hours of cutting and pasting and 10 keying into spreadsheets. Funny story, actually, I just used the word 10 keying. I was saying this with my daughter not long ago, and she's like, what is 10 keying? I hear you say it all the time. And I grabbed this big old ginormous calculator to have on my desk. Anyone have these still? I still have one. But I have one because I'm an accountant by trade, and that's what I did early on years ago. Was I started a CPA firm, and we'd 10 key everything in there. So anyway, but we're all entering this data into these spreadsheets, and it's painful. It takes some time. And if I were to put myself in the shoes of a broker right now, this is what that would look like. I've got all my quotes back and my renewals back. I open up the client spreadsheet. Let's say that I'm doing the medical or the dental or vision. It doesn't matter. I got 3 proposals back. I'm going to go into that spreadsheet. I'm going to make sure the current column really is a current column, which means I probably have to update it from the last year because I haven't opened up that spreadsheet since the last renewal. And I got to make sure that the plan that we bound or put in place is the plan that's in that current column. Once I get that done, now I'm going to copy and paste that into my 3 proposal columns. Bam, bam, bam. I'm going to update the logos of the carriers. And then I'm going to go through those documents and I'm going to start eyeballing them to see what the variances are. Most of them are probably going to be close to current, but we've still got to go through these documents and these proposals, and we've got to make these changes and enter that data in. With an application inside Plansight, we call Smart Sheeting AI. Instead of spreadsheeting, it's Smart Sheeting. This application, this process is instance. Once you upload this document, this proposal, or a carrier uploads it, either one, into Plansight, the AI automatically creates this side-by-side comparison, and it starts with the same process that you as a broker went through. It goes through, let's match current, and now let's read the document, and let's identify deviations and highlight those deviations, and it organizes every data point into this clean, usable side-by-side format without any error to formulas or any error to format, as long as you have your settings and templates set up. So one mid-sized broker, Adam, that we were working with told us that their benefit service team used to spend, now this is on a large renewal, so large business, large brokerages, I mean, 200 plus employees, but they used to spend 8 to 10 hours per large renewal with all the various products. And most of our clients are dealing with medical, dental, vision, disability, and the life products, and then a handful of worksite products and some other voluntary. But with Smart Sheeting AI, this business or these types of businesses, they were spending 8 to 10 hours per large renewals. And it was with the solution, they dropped this just under 30 minutes. It's not just efficiency. That's like literally an entire day of freed up time for strategy. And I'm not saying that there still wasn't what you talked about, human capital review. They still have to go through that. And sure, they still found variances that were not accurate from the AI, but that's why you do the review instead of going through that whole process of initiating that first. Let AI do that. And then you as a human, now just go review it. Let's go on to the next one. I want to talk about plan documents. Man, I had no idea how complicated these are. It's like literally reading legal documents every time you get a plan document. They run from 20 to 60 pages long. I mean, these things are crazy. And there's some literally dense legal language in there that oftentimes I've got to go get a dictionary or use AI now. This is where I do use AI. I will take language that I don't understand. I'll copy and paste and say, help me understand this. And it's fast. But if you want to know what the inclusions are, the exclusions are, they're buried in all these fine print of these plans. AI reads these plan documents, gathers this needed information, and enters it into the spreadsheet so that if you want or need to know if infertility is covered or included, you can see it really quickly, or how the mental health visits are capped or if they're not capped. AI already finds this information and places that into the side-by-side comparison. And then that just gives you a chance to really quickly go verify if it was accurate without scrubbing through a 60-page document. So we had a broker that was needing to scale their human capital because they were growing really fast. They had phenomenal marketing tactics and they were bringing on a lot of clients, and they were able to hire some quality team members, but they had to go outside of team members who didn't really understand the benefits world yet. And that takes time to get that language dialed in and really understand what all these various inclusions and exclusions of plan attributes are with these various products that we're selling and marketing to our clients. They didn't necessarily have that comprehensive benefits experience, but they did express to us that because of our AI solution was able to go grab the initial data and put it in this side-by-side comparison, not only was the work getting performed without them having to have a full understanding, but it was actually teaching their team members about the various products and the importances of what was covered in a quote and what wasn't covered in a quote. And so AI can actually serve as a training solution for team members without having to search through sometimes 20 plus page documents to find this language and meaning behind what these carriers are saying in their proposals. Third, and I know I'm going through these fast, but I think we'll share, these will be part of this slide deck as well. But finally, it's quality control. There's a difference between quality control and quality assurance. Control is the systems and processes that you put in play, and assurance is verifying that. We still feel quality assurance has to be on the shoulders of human capital. They've got to review it. Quality control, though, when you think about AI, it absolutely should be built into your processes. So one of the biggest risks of renewals and marketing and putting together these client presentations is missing something on that presentation, a typo or miscalculation or rate discrepancy. Our AI doesn't just capture the data, it will help validate it. It will flag confirmed values that it sees that's matching current. It will highlight any variances and missing data, telling your team visually, these are the things that you need to be looking at, which means that they only need to focus on those visual items. So most brokers have data entry team members. And then if there's time, and I'm going to use that caveat, if there's time, and they all have this part of their process, but I'm going to say again, if there's time, they have a peer review of that data entry. With Plansight AI solution, the data already gets entered. Those variances in AI are identified by AI. Team members then are able to quickly see that, and then they can do that review of that AI. So not only does it save the brokerage a significant amount of time, but more importantly, Adam, it reduces risk of missing variances in these proposals. And this solution provides what I would call risk mitigation and saves you from having those uncomfortable conversations with clients down the road. So Q4 is a busy season. Team members, another risk is they get sick. They're working a lot of hours. They get sick or they get burned out. And so they call in, they don't show up, or sometimes worst case, they quit. Maybe that's best case in some certain situations if they're not getting the job done. But it's a lot of work, and AI can take a lot of that burden off and reduce a lot of this risk of missed data or miscalculations, missed formulas, and also burnout of team members. So in summary here, what does this all add up to for teams? It's efficiency, reclaimed hours per each renewal you have to deal with. Scalability allows you to support more clients without having to build that staff at the same ratio, and confidence in the actual output. It's consistent. It gives the quality control process is consistent if you embed it in there, to where it gives your team a much more confidence of what they need to review as long as it's embedded in your processes. And it gives your clients faster turnaround time, deeper strategy, and better service. So when your time is freed up, you can spend more comprehensive time with them and talking about more comprehensive, value-based, affordable benefit packages that they're looking for to support their team. So this is practical. It's day-to-day impact AI is giving brokerages, and it's already happening right now inside brokerages. Brokers are using this right now. So the question is, are you taking advantage of this today?
Awesome. Okay, so I'll take this last section, and then we'll go to Q&A. We'll have at least 10 minutes for Q&A. The future of brokerage growth lies in partnership of human relationships and intelligent automation. The brokers who embrace AI now will win more business, deepen client trust, and scale their firms without sacrificing the personal touch. And the firms that adopt AI today won't just keep up, they'll set the pace. And Weston alluded to this podcast that he did with Vertifor. But in that podcast, he said, the broker of the future is not the one that ignores technology. It's the one that uses technology to make their people more valuable. So when we talk about AI in brokerage, it's not theoretical. It's not someday technology. It's here. It's in the field. It's being applied right now. And it's producing results. Plansight AI is helping brokers scale without headcount, reduce risk, and reclaim time that matters most to the client. And the firms that lean into this shift today won't just keep the pace; they'll change. They'll lead the pace. So I want to jump into the QA section, but I mentioned when you're vetting AI companies, you want to put them to the test. We're going to give you the opportunity to do that here. If you want to see what Plansight does, have someone upload some of your own documents, show you exactly how it works. You can either scan this QR code or just go to plansight.com/demo. That will book some time with you, and we're happy to do that, show you exactly how it works. And like I said, put it to the test, ask the questions. How are you securing things? Are you SOC 2 compliant? Are you HIPAA compliant? And then run your documents through and make sure that it's going to do what you think that it's going to do. So let's turn the time over to questions. We've had a couple questions come in so far. Weston, I'll have you answer this one. Ramona asked, does Plansight do small groups or just large groups?
Plansight technology can serve any group size, from community rated groups that the great thing about Plansight is if you are using community rated plans, but you also want to compare those to underwritten plans or marketed plans, you can do that within the software. So anywhere from small groups all the way up to self-funded groups. I was going to say fully funded, but I don't know if there really is any fully funded groups there. There's always some kind of leverage, but yeah, all sizes of groups are supported within the software. We can't get all these questions. There's no amount of time to do that, but we can definitely answer them and send that out in an email too. But one that I really like, can I read one that I really like here? What's the biggest mistake you see brokers making with AI right now? That's an interesting question for sure, because I even see this, if I can be vulnerable for a minute, even with our own customers, and the mistake of assuming that the AI is going to do all of the work of this side-by-side comparison and ingestion of the quotes and output. We talked a little bit about this for sure throughout this presentation, but it doesn't matter who's building the AI. There's this concept of drift. You can ask any model a question and then ask it the same question again, and it's going to give you a slightly different answer, and ask it the same question, it's going to give you a slightly different answer. Now, the nice thing is AI engineers can see this drift, and especially when it comes to industry specific like benefit plans, we can see where AI models will naturally start drifting, and we can put in controls to mitigate that drift, but you can't eliminate it. And I might be using the wrong terminology there. So if there's an AI engineer or my engineers are watching this thing, don't cut into me too deep. But you get the point here. So I think the risk is assumption that it's going to replace the data entry of a human. It does the data entry that a human would do, but there's what it really needs to be part of is a quality control process. So let it take the quote, let it compare it to current, let it flag deviations from current, and verify things that it knows for sure are right, and leave the things that it's not 100% certain also flagged, so that your team members now can go QA the sections that they need to look at and validate. So just don't ever take any one vendor's comment out there of saying it's 100% accurate, because that's not true. It's not a true statement.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually made a post on LinkedIn, I think last week, because I smoke a lot of meat for as a hobby, and I was using, again, a Google tool. Google Photos launched an AI search function within their Google Photos, and so I just asked. I said, go find all the pictures of meat that you can, and it returned like 7, and I have hundreds of them. And so my response, my second prompt was, it seems like you missed a lot. And then it returned the rest of them. It returned over 100. I stopped counting at 100. Literally, all I said was, seems like you missed a lot. And so I posted that on LinkedIn, and I said, what's up with this? Like, I didn't ask a different question. I just said, you didn't get them all. And so AI that's built for specific purposes will do better at this, but there's always different things that you have to understand that's happening on the back end of the prompts. And I had a lot of really smart people tell me exactly what happened there. But
that kind of ties into one of the questions that was actually answered, Adam, or asked how do you balance the convenience tools like ChatGPT and the compliance risk of our industry? And I think we talked about that a little bit earlier too. ChatGPT and free solutions like that should be used to help team members understand language and documents that they don't get, so that they're making sure they're representing it correctly, or brainstorming or marketing efforts, or anything to help your business grow and thrive, or communication, emails, whatever that is. But when it comes to actually dealing with the quotes and the proposals and the plan documents, those should not ever be put into ChatGPT. And you've got to use a solution that's focused on compliance, which there's another question here. Sorry, we're not going to be able to get to all these, but this question says, how do you recommend testing the compliance of one? Well, first, or how does it, let me go back to it. I got buried, but there was a compliance question. You see it in there now? Now I'm not. Oh, a lot of vendors say they're HIPAA compliant. What should we be asking them to verify that? I wouldn't ask them anything. I would ask them the question, are you HIPAA compliant? But then I would say, I want to see your certifications. If they don't have at least a SOC 2 Type 2 certification, I'd probably step away from that at the moment, and then make sure they share with you specifically in their fine print and the terms and services, what are you doing with the data that's being gathered and how is that being managed? And you should be able to read all of that, not just hear someone vocalize what they're telling you. So get those documents in hand. If accuracy claims can be misleading, how do I compare two vendors fairly? It's a really good question. I would actually, so again, AI in a process in your system. I would recommend when you're looking at vendors, like Adam mentioned this, scan this QR code and look at Plansight. If you haven't done that, I'd recommend you do that. I mean, you're not going to regret it, but watch the process and literally watch your documents go in it and how it's going to output on the screen to your users and what they're going to see and how they're going to validate and confirm the accuracy of it, and do that experience 2 or 3 times or even more with documents until you have experience with these various vendors on which process fits you and your firm the best. And I think that's how I would take that approach. Just utilize the solution. I know we're willing to do that here at Plansight with any of our prospects that are wanting to take a look at this.
Yeah.
I would say there's a handful of other questions here. Unless you see one, Adam, that you want to answer right off the bat, we probably wrap this up because we're taking people to the hour now.
Yep. Yeah. We'll wrap things up. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Weston, thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful, gave you some insight into vetting AI tools, using AI tools, what can be accomplished with AI. That was the whole goal of the webinar today. So hopefully you walk away with some of that. Again, you'll get a recording, you'll get the slides afterward. And then if you have additional questions, you can follow up with us, or like I said, scan this QR code. It will be customized completely to you. We'll run the documents through that you want to see, and if you have questions from there, we can take them at that point. But otherwise, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, Adam.